Agriculture is the single largest employer in the world, providing livelihood for over 40% of the global population. Agricultural consulting is a billion-dollar industry in the Western world. We also have primary producer financial support in the Western world, amounting to more than US $257 billion per annum. That's a huge amount of money, which does not reach any areas of the developing world. Imagine if we could change this, all right? Imagine if we could increase the yield output of these smallholder farmers by up to 20 to 50%. Imagine if we could increase the incomes of over 750 million households. If we could feed an additional 1 billion people across the globe. So to kind of put this into perspective and into some context, I'm going to tell you a story. I myself have been working in Fiji for the past 18 months, and I've interacted and worked with about 160 farmers. I'm going to narrow it down to two of them. One of them's name is Ajit, and he plants a variety of crops every season, but his main kind of export to the local market is cabbages. A lot of these cabbages suffer from disease and pests, okay? And what Ajit does to rectify this issue is spray his cabbages with Mortein. Yes, plain household Mortein that you'll find in any kind of supermarket, gets sprayed directly on a cabbage to kill the pests and sent off to export. And it's being consumed by local members of the community. The next farmer that I want to chat to you about is Vinod. So Vinod owns about, I think it is 5 hectares of land. But during the rainy season, 50% of that land is completely unusable, right? He's unable to plant, yield any crop from that part of the land for a whole 6 months of the year. Ultimately, what we want to do is work out a way to make Vinod and Ajit customers of ours, okay, through our FarmEd platform. Let's compare this a little bit to the Western world before I kind of go into the business model and what we're trying to do. So in the Western world, average of 800 hectares of land, mostly focused on commercial farming, multi-crop, so multi-cropping, so they plant multiple crops at once, heavily mechanized, okay, and utilizing extremely contemporary methods of farming. Most farmers are willing to pay about $20,000 for consultancy services to help them improve yields and the cost effectiveness of their farm, which equates to about $25 per hectare. And if you look at areas like Fiji or the developing world, the average is around 5 hectares of land. It's family enterprise or family run, mostly focused on subsistence farming. They plant few crops, sometimes only one crop that they know how to specialize in, and they're using extremely outdated farming methods, hand tools, and knowledge from older generations. Now we've tested a price point here. Farmers like Vinod and Ajit are willing to pay up to 250 Fijian dollars, okay, for some sort of consultancy service to help them improve yields and cost effectiveness of their farms. This equates to about $40 AUD per hectare, which is hugely disproportionate to the amount that Australian farmers or Australian commercial farmers are willing to pay. We can see here that there's a clear want and need for this kind of advice. So how exactly are we doing this? If I told you that we'd worked out a way to plant 20 crops on 1 acre of land and have that acre of land yield a minimum of 50 kilos of crop per day, would you believe me? It's fine if you don't, because I didn't believe the numbers at first either, and I had to run them multiple times to see if they checked out. And that's what we're currently doing. We're testing this model in Fiji as we currently speak. Let me break it down for you to make it really clear. I'll use Vinod as an example. We go to Vinod, we get him to take out his smartphone and download the FarmEd app. Vinod then walks to each corner of his farm and presses the button on the app. This captures differing GPS data and coordinates and sends it into the cloud. From there, the app asks a series of questions of Vinod. It then asks him to perform a simple soil test to get pH readings, which he then also inputs into the app. At that point, taking all those differing variables, that data goes straight into the cloud where our back-end cognitive computing platform churns out a blueprint. That blueprint says to Vinod what crops he should sow, when he should sow them, when he can expect yield, so when to harvest, what the likely output will be, how to maintain those crops, whether or not pests and diseases may be an issue, and gives him solutions to those pests and diseases as well. Given that over 85% of the population in Fiji have access to smartphone technology, and over 50% of the population rely on farming for income, we now have the power to make this technology accessible to over 400,000 people, okay, contributing to the differing social outcomes that I mentioned to you before. We're now testing these differing range of experiments that we've tested over the last 18 months in areas in Malawi, Timor-Leste, and Cambodia as well, to collect more data to see how the app can be rolled out in these locations. We're on track here for global growth, which means we're on the right path to solving world hunger utilizing agricultural expertise.